Hi, welcome to Car Mechanical. Today I'm going to show you how to remove your Audi A4 door card. We're going to replace the window switches and we're going to sort out that nasty looking trim as well. So to start with, we need a plastic trim piece. So this is not to scratch a piece of trim we're going to take out. That slips underneath you and you pop out most of the pop bits and then the last bit just pulls out. So that slides out as we're doing here. Underneath we've got Phillips screws, so we've got 4 of them that we're going to undo. I'm just going to speed it up to get past this. Then underneath the door handle there's another piece of trim that needs to come out and a couple of screws there, and at the very bottom of the door card we've got a last screw to take out as well. So with this trim piece here, I'm doing it with a plastic trim remover. I try and go for this rather than the metal one, because the metal one, it is made to slide under stuff but you can still scratch it, so when I do use it sometimes I put a glove over it, or if I do have to use it I'll use it when things have already been slid out a little bit. So we've got the 2 screws there, as you can kind of see they're out of focus, but we're going to go in and we're going to undo those. Apologies with some of the video quality, it was taken sort of towards the end of the day and I didn't realise how grainy the footage would come out. However, hopefully you can see what you need to do here. So we're going to take out the last of the screws underneath, so that's 7 screws all in all for the door card that we take out. And then the door card will pop off, so we're going to do that in a second using the trim tool. So I'm using the metal one, but I'm putting a glove over it so I can just get underneath things without scratching it. And it's just going to pop the trim bits out. So they just sort of pop and then you pull them out. And then the door card's going to lift up. But it's not going to come off because we need to undo a few things on the inside. So we've got the door handle. So we're just going to reach in there. So the first bit pops out. And then you're going to unhook it from the handle itself. And then we've got the speaker. So just one of those needs to clip off. And then we've got the main switch control here. So that pushes down, you might want to use a screwdriver and then that will come off. That's the door card released, so you can do whatever you want here now. So I'm going to take this into the garage and we're going to work on stripping it down so I can replace the window switches and clean things up. Now these are all Torx bits, I think they're T25, I'll make sure I've got the right bit shown on screen for what they actually are. And I think there's 10 pieces here. So we're going to undo all of these and this is going to release the door handle, or rather the armrest and the door handle that you'd grip from the inside. So once we've undone all of those, we need to undo the connectors as well. So there's 2 connectors to undo. There's one for the mirrors and then there's one for the window switch. So they're a little bit out of sight, but you can use a screwdriver to release things. You can do this with fingernails if you've got better fingernails than me. I prefer to use a screwdriver. So they're now released. We're going to take the door card off, which is going to leave the handle. And then we're going to start stripping this down so we can make this look better. So we can see the state that it's currently in. It's not great. So when we do strip it down, we're going to do something to improve that quite a bit as well. So this actually just pops out at this point, but I decided to take the switches out first. Now I'm going to do this in the reverse order because it's how I actually did it. So I may as well show you how I did do it. Now I did crack things a little bit releasing the switch. It is very tight, it's old plastic, it is brittle, be careful. But basically you need to loosen the switch because of it's got these 4 little joints that it's popped into. And then the switch will just pop out. So as you're doing this on here, you'll see it come out in a moment. And you're just going to kind of release it and then you can push the switch from underneath. Now what I do in a minute, I'm actually going to take the plastic trim out, and if I'd have done that I'd have found it easier to release it from both sides. But you can do it with this card, with the plastic trim still in. And what I also need to release afterwards is to take out the mirror switch as well, but we'll do that separately. So you can use a trim tool just to get the initial release off there. This probably hasn't been taken off in the entire of the car's lifetime. But yeah, if I'd have done that before, it would have been a tiny bit easier. But before I start to sand this down to make it better, we're going to take that switch out. And again, we're just going to, I use a screwdriver to sort of just initially release it. Then it pushes out my hand and then I need to take off the little rubber inserts. So as I flip that over, it should just pop out. There we go. And then we're going to take out those little rubber inserts as well. They'll just pop out with a screwdriver or toothpick. Nothing too sharp so as to scratch it. We don't want to have to be replacing those unless we need to. And then we can start on working on the door card itself. So I'm going to put everything else to one side, put it nice and safe. Don't need the switches anymore. But we're going to work on making this trim look better. So this trim is a big problem in Audis. They use this soft trim plastic which maybe gets worn away by skin oils and sort of just hardware over the years, and what I need to do is get it all down to one flat, even level surface so I can make it look better again. I'm going to use plastidip. I'm actually using Rust-Oleum, which is a different brand, but it's still a peelable spray. And I just need to prep everything first and get rid of all of the old stuff. Now, some bits takes ages because of it's in little corners. Those little bits where the switches are is especially hard to reach. It's completely optional depending how far you want to go. I went as far as I could. It's important that you sort of start with maybe a high grit and then work your way down to sort of a low grit. I went from 60 to 150 to 300 to 600, and then I gave it a quick wipe over with some panel clean. That takes any dust or anything off. Now I'm using a plastidip type peelable spray. Now when you use this, you want to be using it from about 30 centimeters. I think it says 6 inches away. I'll double check and put it on screen. There's loads of plastidip videos out there, but basically you put your first coat on light and then you put your next 3 coats on thicker. The temperature is important as well. Now, one of the issues I had was my garage was too cold, and when I did one of my second coats, I put the second coat on too thick, so it cracked. So what was really important was I used a sort of little electric space heater and got the garage temperature up to at least sort of 15 to 20 degrees. So I think this is after the first or second layer, and I'm speeding the footage up here, but we're going to put coats 2 and 3 on, and you let those dry. Now, it says to give it sort of 20 minutes to an hour to dry, and I was giving it sort of the full time to dry out. I also found that if I went and put things on too soon, I was getting some cracking, so I have ended up redoing some bits. But in the end, what you end up with is sort of quite a nice finish, and you have to turn things to sort of get into sort of just the right areas. You want to be careful not to touch anything that's wet. But what we end up with in the end is after 4 coats, we end up with a much better finish, and I'm going to show that to you now. So that effectively cost me the £4 cost of the plastidip, and I was quite happy I was able to achieve what I was looking to do there when you look at the befores and the after. So let's get everything built back up. So we're going to put the mirror switch back in. So we put the little button presses back in first, so they just slip into place, and then the switch itself just clips back in. All of these are really easy. It literally all clips back together in the same way that it came apart, if not even easier. So we're going to put that back in, and then we're going to do the new window switches. So the new window switches for this were £4.50. I think I got these off of eBay, maybe even Amazon. I do see them going for up to £10, but you can get them cheaper if you hunt around. I think the precise order I did this in, for some reason I put it all back together in this way first. But that trim, it just slides over, so you're going to line it up and you're going to slide the trim piece into place. You could have put the window switches in first. It's kind of completely optional. I think I had to do this a couple of times once I got to grips with it all. But there we go. And when this is the final bit for this, it just clicks into place. So you'll feel that slot home nicely. And now we can put these switches in. So again, nice and quick. And if you've just taken it off and you've got good trim, or you've bought a new piece of trim, I think you can buy it from Audi for £20 odd. You can just swap it over that way. And then we're going to put this back onto the door card. So the easiest way to do this, I found, was to sort of put it in place here, hold it with one hand, go in from behind, and we're going to put in 2 of the screws, or 2 of the Torx bits, and then we're going to put the rest into place as well. So as we do all of those, I'm going to skip a step, or I'm going to speed it all up actually, and we're going to put all 10 back into place. If you've got a really keen eye, you might see I've misplaced 1 or 2. Always goes with the things I say in my videos, put everything into a tray. I think I put these into my pocket, made my way to the house, and made my way back out with 8 of them. So we're going to put the switches back in, they just clip into place as well. And with that done, we've got the door card built back up. So we're going to go and reattach it to the car in a minute. But before you put it back in the car, make sure that you're happy with everything, make sure you've not missed everything, make sure you've got all of your pieces, and we're good to go. I also took the opportunity to clean the door card up a bit. I do need some proper trim cleaning stuff for the lower part of the door card. But as you can see, that looks a lot neater than we were before. Right, so let's get everything connected back on the car. So we're going to do the door handle first, because that kind of holds it in place whilst we do the other wires. And that hooks under, and then you just push it into place. It's a nice and easy one there. And then we're going to do the window switches. That just lifts up, and then the lever will pull it into place nicely. And the speaker's the last one. That's nice and easy. That just pushes down. It's a lot easier than other door cards I've dealt with. So then with the door card, it's going to lift up and down, and then you're going to push all of the catches back into place, or all of the pop bits. So make sure it's lined up on top nicely, then you're going to push it down, and then you can just knock these in by hand. So they're just sort of all round. Now there are some bits on mine that are loose. This door card's obviously been off before. I found bits of duct tape as I took it off, but there you go. So we're going to put these 4 screws back in first. Now I might point out here, it might be an idea to test the window switches at this point before you put everything back in, but I didn't. So we're going to put the trim piece back in, so that slides in, and then we're just going to do the last couple of screws once to make sure that's secured. So we've got the screw underneath, which we're going to put in quickly here, and then we've got the last 2, which I've actually put in, but I'm just sort of going to show you and pretend to put these back into place, because it was really awkward to get a camera angle in there, and when I did you couldn't see anything. But basically you've got those last 2 Phillips, you can put those in there, and then you can put the trim piece back on, and we're done. So we're going to test things out in a second. I mentioned before you might wanted to have done this as you connected the door card and clipped everything up to make sure the switches are actually okay. But I'm just going to give everything a quick check, so make sure that the window switch worked. I have tested all 4 of the windows, and we're also going to check that the mirrors have adjustment as well. The last thing you want to be doing is going along and find out you can't adjust things as needed. Okay, and we're done. I hope you found this video useful. I don't know if you're planning on stripping your own door card down for similar needs, or you just need to replace your window switches. I found the whole process wasn't too bad, but it did take a bit of time to do the plastidip. I'm very happy with the result when you compare it to before. If you did like this video, guys, please leave a like and leave any comments in the comment section down below. If you have any comments or feedback, also please leave them. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. But more than anything, thank you for watching.